when we're praying for the temple to be built, we're praying for all the world to be there with us.
Can I say something about Jerusalem really quickly? I picked up these yesterday in the Holy City. This is all shrapnel from a ballistic missile.
That brings up everyone's question, which is, what is the actual goal of the war? Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should always be connected to the land and people of Israel. Well, here we are, day 6 of a war that we knew was going to happen. Ari predicted it for the last 3 months, every single week. And here we are. Now, I would venture to guess that all of us are operating on a little less sleep than normal. So have some patience with us if I stumble over my words. Also, we had a siren like 30 minutes ago and had to run to the bomb shelter. So if that happens again, don't worry, we'll be back. It's just a quick 10-minute intermission, but our editors can shorten that down, I'm sure. So that's what's happening here in the heartland of Israel. Thankfully, Jeremy and Ari were able to leave their families for a couple hours and drive all the way up here. It's interesting times. There was sirens 3 times last night, I think, up here. I don't know about for you guys, but it's basically day and night. Now, they are decreasing, but there's definitely still war being felt in the land of Israel. So
I have a quick question for you guys. What is the ratio between warnings and actual sirens for you? Because that's an interesting thing. It started off where there's a warning, and then, you know, there's like, and then the siren goes off. The actual siren goes off.
I will say in the last 24 hours, like, there's been a lot of pre-warning. We call it the pre-warning. Basically, your phone goes off like 5 minutes before the actual siren.
Terrifying your children, flashing the flashlight.
But in the last 24 hours, there's been like 4 or 5 pre-warnings and no actual siren.
Right,
so,
which is interesting. That's all over the country.
Which caused me to wake up last night but not go to the bomb shelter, so I'm feeling a little bit...
I actually uninstalled the thing because it was just terrifying my children and they're getting PTSD from it. But it's interesting because that means that
it really helps me, by the way. I mean, I think it's fantastic. Because
the pre-warning?
Yeah, because... I don't have a shelter in my house. I have to actually go outside through and reach the shelter. So for my children, it gives me a 10-minute warning to prepare everything. And then if the actual warning goes off, which for me is about 2/3 of the time, is real. From my experience.
It's real?
Yeah.
Well, not in the last day, though. It's been a lot less.
Like last night, we had 3 alarms.
But here's the deal.
2 of them were real.
My house is pretty far from the bomb shelter, and I need that pre-warning. But there's been enough pre-warnings without the sirens that at 2 a.m. when that goes off,
I just want to clarify for our listeners.
Am I really going to wake all my children up right
Our
now?
listeners out there need to understand what this is, and I think they appreciate this because so many of the people that watch this program feel deeply connected to us here in Israel, to our journey, to this struggle, and they want to be connected with this facet, this very real human element of it. So when you say real, it's not really the right wording because all those pre-warnings are real. Every one of them is real. It just means that it didn't convert to actually, meaning that Israel and the God of Israel has intercepted those missiles on the way where it wasn't actualized. They didn't actually get here. But they were all real.
We've had a number of times when the community next to us, which is like a mile or 2 as the crow flies, the siren goes off there and we can hear it, but the siren does not go off here. So sometimes you're just far enough out of the zone where you don't get it.
Can I share something?
My wife loves this site.
Can I shower?
You just stole my thunder. I was just about to say
well, this is fantastic. There's 8%. The chances are very low
called
right now.
Only in Israel.
Yeah, I thought this was fantastic. And you can put the duration of how long you would like to shower so that it gives you the risk of the chances of being interrupted. Because being interrupted in a shower is just one of the worst things. I mean, you got shampoo in your hair and you got to get out. You got to get your, I mean, you just run to the shelter. You know, that's very difficult.
I didn't realize it allowed you to put in the duration of your shower, and it gives you the
how long you would like to
make
go.
it through.
Right, and it gives you all the stats of like, you know, what's trending, stable times of the day.
How many minutes since the last time? The only problem is I discovered this site last night, and so I sent it out to our whole team, and it was saying the risk was very low, and it was basically saying now's a really good time to take a shower. Literally within like 60 seconds, the pre-alert goes off and everybody was like, now I got to get out of the shower. So also I heard there's an app now that's been developed. Have you heard about this? Where when you're running to the bomb shelter, you can scan the QR code at the door and register.
At the door of your bomb shelter?
And register whether you're single or married. And then all the single people can hook up with all the rest of the singles in the bomb shelter.
Coming out.
That's interesting.
Oh my goodness.
That's probably in like Nachlaot in Jerusalem where all the singles hang out. We don't have that QR code on my
on your bomb shelter.
Judean bomb shelter.
Well, guys, so much to get into, and we're going to talk about the real reasons for this war today, and something that it takes the enemies of Israel to bring to our attention, the ideology and what's really going on in the spiritual realm, and that is about the Temple Mount. And we're going to get into, believe it or not, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like people like Tucker Carlson are almost more connected to God's unfolding biblical story and what's happening in Israel than some pro-Israel people are, Christians, Jews even. Like, he is quoting scripture and bringing things out that you're like, why are we not talking about this? And obviously he's talking about it in an anti-Israel way. But it's almost like he's pushing us more towards redemption. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I feel like we're looking back and all of a sudden these ancient biblical characters are coming out in different forms and in different ways. And it's like, oh, we have a sort of a Cyrus of this generation, with Donald Trump, who's facilitating the return of the Jews to the land. And I can't help but to think, if I had to put Tucker Carlson in a box, he's Bilam. He's that ancient character that opens his mouth to curse.
Balaam,
but what
people in English,
but what is coming out ends up actually being blessing, meaning he's bringing a blessing into the world, even though it's just this vicious hatred and desire to undermine and curse, which is just a little bit of a microcosm of everything that's happening. When we understand the way the God of Israel truly works, that even behind what appears to be bad and dark is actually blessing. We see that in Haman. Haman wanted to destroy every single Jew, man, woman, child. And what did he end up doing? Facilitating the return of the Jews and building the temple. So it's all, I don't know, is
anybody else asking the question, though, will this war lead to building the third temple? Is anybody else asking that question except for Tucker Carlson? Like, he's the one that's kind of bringing that to the table.
Can I just preface that, like, almost every war, definitely October 7th, but like the majority of Israel's enemies, when they attack Israel, it's always something, it's not always reported in English media, but it's always something that immediately they announce it. They say, this is our reason for attacking Israel. Always goes back to the Temple Mount. Like October 7th, they called it the Al-Aqsa Flood. They're saying our goal is to liberate the Temple Mount, basically. So Israel's enemies, it's always there, but most people have no clue. They don't realize it at all.
I mean, Khomeini in his past life had was that funny?
In his past life?
Yeah. I mean, where's he at now? I don't know. There's plenty of jokes going around about that.
There's a lot of good memes going around.
Yeah.
And thank you for adding me to the internal Hayovel humor mill.
But I'm just, he had plenty of statements about the Temple Mount.
Well, you were showing us a picture. Maybe we'll send that to the editors. Haven't put it up on the screen, but like that's the end goal for the Ayatollah, right?
Palestine will be free.
Palestine.
Final
Temple
solution.
Mount. Yeah.
That's under this picture of all of the Muslims celebrating on the Temple Mount Palestinian flag. Like this, and I see the Hamas and this is I see a Hamas flag here, also a Hezbollah flag and a Palestinian flag. This picture really, to me, encapsulates really what the regime was all about and what their proxies were trying to do. This is so clear to me. These proxies were a force to the final solution. I mean, come on, you don't have to think really far to figure out what he's talking about. The final solution he's talking about, he wants to be the Hitler. Even the Gulf states are calling him out as like, he is the Hitler. They're worried about him also taking over their areas as well. But this is really boils it down. The Temple Mount, even though the whole world, aside from Tucker, are refusing to believe that the Temple Mount is really the spear, the tip of the spear of this entire war. The Arabs are yelling it. The Khomeini was shouting it out as well. This is the real war. Look at this poster. This is all of our proxies are fighting because of this. They're always pointing to this, and the whole world is still, the Western world is still kind of oblivious to what this even is all about. And now Tucker's saying, oh, the Jews, they want to destroy the world. Well, who's actually destroying the world? I mean, we just celebrated, Purim here, and it means the whole thing's flipped on its head, right? Like everything's turned over backwards, and it's going to flip. Well, the script's going to flip here too. Yeah. They're not going to destroy this place.
But it's what's really interesting because I follow him Religiously. I do. I listen to everything Tucker Carlson says because I find it so fascinating, because I'm not really in this place of reactivity or fear where I'm like, oh, he's not doing damage to us. He can't do damage. Maybe he will be successful in doing damage, but only if God wills it. For me to focus my emotions on him is missing the entire point. But it's just so interesting to see the desperation with which he's like, oh, he's talking about Israel as a secular country, the most secular country ever. They're transgender story hours, and we're siding with them over the very conservative Iranian old traditional values of throwing acid in the face of a woman that was raped because she was raped. And so he conflates American biblical conservative values with Iran, calling Israel a secular country. And then the next show, he's like, well, Israel, all they want to do is rebuild the temple. They want the government, and they want to
Can I play this clip?
Let's play the
set
clip.
it up. Let's play this clip.
How did all these guys wind up wearing patches suggesting the point of this war was the destruction of one of the holiest places in Islam and the rebuilding of a temple that is totally anathema to Christianity? Like, how did this happen? Well, there are a lot of ways it happened. The main way it happened is because no one in the United States noticed, because it's such a secular place. And as noted, we have eyes but can't see and ears and can't hear. But this has been going on a long time in public through, in part, the efforts of a group called Chabad, C-H-A-B-A-D. And you may know people who give money to Chabad or run into Chabad, super nice people, engage in all kinds of charitable activities, drug rehab. You know, there's a lot about Chabad that's really good. But what is Chabad exactly? Well, Chabad, you can look it up, is a very old organization, about 250 years old. And it's a branch of Hasidic Judaism. It's an organization that was overseen for many years by a guy called Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who was famously in Brooklyn, considered the Messiah by some of his followers, who was a friend of presidents, or certainly someone presidents visited. He was a very powerful man in the Orthodox and the Hasidic community. And he was the overseer of Chabad, which predated him and outlasted him, but he was its most visible ambassador. And Chabad has been pushing, in a pretty subtle way, unless you look carefully, for the reconstruction of the Third Temple.
You know, I'm a little disappointed. Tucker Carlson gave a really great advertisement for this patch right here, but we didn't get any credit, and Ari, you didn't get any credit either in the show. Do you want to explain kind of the origins of this patch real quick?
Okay, so I mean, where do you start with this explanation? The creation of the universe? I don't know where to, because this is really the culmination of all of human history, and he's pushing the story forward from his angle and from his thing. But when this war broke out, all of the soldiers showed that there was not one home in all of Gaza that didn't have pictures and posters up of the Temple Mount. And they called this, Hamas called this the Al-Aqsa flood. And a big part of their motivation was what the Jews are bringing in, the red heifers. This isn't speculation. This is actually video testimony for all of them. And here we are in Israel, and so God is now doing something in our hearts as we're fighting this battle. And he's right. The soldiers are taking off their Golani. I was in the unit with the tree, and Jeremy was in Givati. What was yours? A fox?
A fox.
A fox, right. And it's just nonsense. And the paratroopers are a snake with wings, and it's just westernized, overlay on the Israeli army. And they're all taking off those patches. He's right, and they're putting these. I mean, these patches are not paid for by the American government, but he's right.
Actually, the government of Israel says you can't wear it, but people aren't.
But he's wrong in saying, it's just like this group or that group. We just found a few. I could give him so many more pictures and videos of soldiers that are wearing these. But even those that he says secular, they're secular soldiers. Really, they're secular? They're secular. People are in the army right now in Israel only there because they want to be.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be out, you could be out. And you go, and there's soldiers that don't necessarily observe all the commandments. But the fire for God and for the nation of Israel is alive and a burning ember within them. I would even go so far to say that there's no nation in the world that is less faithless and godless than the nation of Israel. And you can see by our reaction to the constant genocidal waves of vicious terror against us that we respond with greater and greater and greater flame for the love for love of God and Torah and truth. So anyways, that's just one background.
One big note I would want to mention about this patch is that at the start of the war, nobody was putting stuff like this on their uniforms. This was not something. It's what the process that has led Israel through this redemptive, godly journey is now culminating in a large portion of soldiers actually realizing that this actually is the reason for the war. And now you have thousands and thousands of soldiers who are putting this patch on, specifically the guys that have fought in Gaza, specifically the ones that have come face to face with the reason for the war. And there's a reason why these guys are doing it. They're understanding that the real fight is not just about destroying the people of Israel. It's about destroying the people who represent God, who represent that hilltop, that Mount Zion in Jerusalem. And then they understand the real way to win this war is to put that patch on their shoulder.
Right, but it's also interesting to listen to Tucker. He's like, last show, 2 shows ago, they're not even the Jews, and they're Khazars, and they're this, and then the next show he's like, and for thousands of years, they've been wanting to build the temple, and this is the holiest place to the Jews. Are we Jews again now, Tucker? Are we not Jews? The point is that I want to make is the War of 1948, defibrillators, 56, the War of Independence, the Yom Kippur War. And these are all like parts of the journey of waking up, of knocking us out of our coma and waking us up to who we are. And I think October 7th is the final defibrillator that we're going to look back and be like, that was the final wake-up call that brought us to a consciousness of who we are in our mission.
Can I tell a quick story, though? We were on the Temple Mount just 2 days or a couple days before the war broke out with a big volunteer team, and a bunch of the volunteers had gotten these patches, and they were walking around on the Temple Mount with these patches, and that's probably not sanctioned either, but they were doing it. And all the guards that were up on the Temple Mount, they were handing these out to the guards, the Israeli guards on the Temple Mount, and the guards thought it was fantastic. One of the guards slapped it up on his chest and was like, the Israeli public are starting to get it. That's what's exciting. Tucker's exactly right. The Israeli public are starting to understand that this is at the heart of this entire war. It's just the way it is.
So I just want to make sure everybody knows. Thank you, Tucker Carlson, for that great promo. Thanks to Ari, thousands of IDF soldiers are wearing this patch.
Way to go, Ari.
And thanks to us, the Israel guys, getting the idea from Ari, that about 10,000 people around the world are wearing this patch right now, like non-Jews, non-IDF soldiers, Christian Zionists. And if you want to get yours today, you can get them at theisraelguys.store. I'll put a link down below. I told Ari I would advertise for his store, but they're out of stock. So
we'll try to get them back in stock. Ari. But I was going to plug yours and you plug ours. That's how we always are with each other.
So, yeah.
But I just want to make sure, I want you to talk, I don't want to interrupt, but I want to make sure before we move on from this subject of Tucker and the temple that we address a few points that he made, because I was telling Jeremy on the way here that we could be like, I don't want to give him daylight and I don't want, but I can't help it to when I listen to him, I'm like, he's demanding from within us a higher level of truth, because it's hard sometimes. It's like, wow, the level and succession of lies and misunderstandings, if you want to be charitable for him, it's so rapid that it's like, where do we even start? But there are a few things that he said about the temple that really I think we need to address here on the Israel Guys, not about Tucker, but about sharing with the world the mission of what the temple really is. So am I interrupting you, or could we just...
No, I have one more clip to play here. I think it's right in line with what we're talking about here.
Great.
Let's play this clip.
On that spot or right nearby, a lot has happened. But critically on that spot, because it was the place where Abraham brought Isaac, and again, to American ears this sounds weird, but to the rest of the world it's like, yeah, everyone knows this because it's the center of their lives. On that spot, Solomon built his famous temple. Now in the Torah, it says pretty clearly, and correct me if I'm misreading it, that Jews, followers of God, can only publicly worship God and sacrifice on that spot, in that city, Jerusalem, on that spot. And on that spot was built a temple, the first temple. And that was destroyed by the Babylonians, famously. And then it was rebuilt and later improved by Herod. And it was, at its completion, I think, the largest building, certainly the largest religious building in the ancient world. And it was in that building that Jesus preached, in what we call the Second Temple that Jesus preached, the very center of Judaism, building without which you can't really have Torah Judaism. The religion just didn't work without it. By its own terms, in its own book, it said that.
Okay, now there's just so much. We just took a break here to discuss what we're going to talk about regarding this, and it's so rich. There's such a wealth of things that he's throwing out there that it's like, what are we going to take? But I just said in my heart, what needs to be clarified? What is he summoning up from within me that we really need to share with the world? It's important to understand when he says the Solomonic temple built by Solomon, and only Jews, followers of God, can worship at this spot. No. That is not it. If you actually listen to the words of King Solomon himself from the first book of Kings, chapter 8, he starts by first praying for the nation of Israel, that their hearts return to God, so that they may fear you all the days that they live upon the land that you gave to their forefathers. Then he goes on, verse 41, also a Gentile who is not of your people Israel, but will come from a distant land for your name's sake, for they will hear of your great name and your strong hand and your outstretched arm, and will come and pray towards this temple. May you hear from heaven the foundation of your abode, act according to all that the Gentile calls out to you, so that all the peoples of the world may know your name, to fear you as does your people Israel, and to know that your name is proclaimed upon this temple that I have built. So he's not just saying that they can worship God and pray to God from this spot, but he's saying, God, please answer their prayers. He's not saying they need to convert to be Jews. And no, they're coming from distant lands. Let them know your name and let them know your truth. And listen, when we're praying for the temple to be built, we're praying for all the world to be there with us. As Isaiah says, for my house will be a house of prayer for all people and all nations. And this is such a twisted perversion of what it is, as if we're some sort of reclusive, nation that's just hoarding God to ourselves and we don't believe anyone. We're here in order to facilitate blessing and to be vessels and vehicles to bless the nations of the world, all of humanity. It's exactly the reverse of what he's saying.
Come on, Luke and I, let's just be a testimony of exactly what you just said. The reason we're here is because a religious Jewish community in the heart of Samaria that is so excited about the reality of the temple being restored one day says, because it's a religious value to them that the temple be restored, that's why they accept us. Because they said, this is their verse that they're holding on to, same as you gentlemen here, rabbis. The most beautiful thing that the nation's connection to Israel is wrapped up in the temple. Worship, the nations, Luke and myself, non-Jewish people coming to worship together with Israel is really why we're welcomed here. They said, well, how else will the nations be able to come and be a part of the worship if we don't start figuring out how this works now? How do nations come and participate in worship to God on the Temple Mount? And so that's why we were on the Temple Mount the other day. And while we were walking up there, guess what we did? Just like in biblical times, there was a Jewish man standing there. I said, would you bless our group? Because we've come from the nations to honor God and to be a part of this, of building up Israel. Would you bless us? The young man, probably 25, just lit up. He was just so excited. He said, of course. He stood there and he blessed our whole team of 35 guys that was up on the mountain. To me, this is a biblical story unfolding. We're praying literally on, This is ground zero. This is the epicenter of this entire story, and we're living the prophetic word of God. We're the nations coming up, being blessed by a Jewish person, not being spit on, not being cursed, not being shot at, not being
kept out of the bomb shelters. That's the latest propaganda
going
around.
No, we're being blessed as nations that are coming to worship God on the Temple Mount. And all of these people are talking and chattering about everything except for the reality on the ground, of which this is just what's happening.
We'll get back to the podcast in a second. We're not really running ads this week due to the war. We don't want to just bring you the update straight from the front lines, but Ari read a beautiful scripture from the Bible, and it reminded me that I actually wrote a book about this very topic. He read the scripture when Solomon was dedicating the temple, where he prayed that foreigners, non-Jews, people who loved God in the Bible, he actually asked that God would hear their prayer if they directed their prayers and their gaze and their attention towards Jerusalem. I was privileged to co-author a book. It's called Facing Jerusalem, God's Global Plan for Redemption. It's for Christians to understand how they should be intrinsically connected, both physically and spiritually, to God's plan and what's happening in the holy city of Jerusalem, and how so many things are converging on that place in Israel. It's a very easy read. It's simple to understand. Lots of scriptures, lots of personal experience and stories from myself and my co-authors' experiences here in Israel. And I want to encourage you, if you were interested in this topic of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem and how the eyes of the world are fixed on this place, and maybe you should be as well, I encourage you, pick up a copy of Facing Jerusalem, God's Global Plan for Redemption. I'll put the link in the description below. back to the podcast.
Well, that's why this is happening now. It's all coming to surface now. It's like coming to this is all actually about the Temple Mount. This is all about building the temple. And that's why October 7th, which is really the beginning of the domino effect that led to the Second Iran War, was called the Al-Aqsa Flood, because there's two versions. One is the Al-Aqsa Flood, where if you're a Jew, you can't go up there. You can't pray there. If you're a Christian, you can't go up there. You can't pray there. If you're a non-Muslim, then you can't worship there. It's like a house of prayer for one nation, the Islamic nation. That is Hamas's vision of that place. And it's just so marvelous to say there was one place that was chosen by God to say, this is where my presence will dwell. And this whole war is a spiritual war saying, what is God's presence? Is it going to be domination of Islam where you have to be like me or we'll kill you? Or is it meant to be a place where the nations of the world can come and be blessed? It will be a Jewish temple where the Jews are the custodians and we're blessing the nations that come. That's the real vision. Is it going to be a temple for all nations that the custodians of are Jews? Or will it be an Al-Aqsa flood where if you're not Muslim, you die? That is what this war against Iran is actually all about.
I just have one more testimony that I want to share because people don't understand what the truth of the reality is. Under the auspices of the Jordanian Waqf, who were facilitating the Iranian wish of Islamic rule on the Temple Mount. Me, as a Christian, coming from America to come up to worship God on the Temple Mount. Guess how I was treated when I first came up in 2000? I think it was 13, 14. Well, we were spit at, we were yelled at. The whole time we're going around, people are being pushed and yelling. They had yelling groups just to yell Allah Akbar at us at the highest pitch. It was groups of ladies screaming Allah Akbar at me and our group the whole time we were there.
It's actually Akbar. Akbar means Allah is a mouse.
Yeah, I love that, don't you? Yeah, it's fantastic.
Kabira is like great, and Akbar is the greatest. Yeah.
So anyway, when we're going up there, I literally have been grabbed. Two Jordanian guards. No Israelis used to be around then. I just want to emphasize everything that Tucker's talking about, everything that this whole misinformation war is going out is the opposite. Because when he's supporting the Islamic regime to hold the Temple Mount for what? So that no one can go up and worship except for the Iranians rule and people that they agree with? Because not even all the Muslims are going to be able to come up even if that, because they're going to have their groups that are only allowed to come up. I'm certainly not. I've been attacked on the Temple Mount for not being a Muslim, grabbed on both sides and thrown off the Temple Mount by two Jordanian guards. That's what happens. And that's what Tucker is trying to somehow bring to the world, that's good. This is what we want.
That's why the ultimate clarity is going to come through the Temple Mount, because there's so much confusion in the world. What's truth? What's lies? What's artificial? What's real? What's fake? Who is the God of Abraham? Because they're claiming that they're worshiping Allah, the God of Abraham. We're like, no, there's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we're saying this the same God, but it's clearly there needs to be a truth. Is it a house of prayer for all nations where all nations will be blessed? Or will it be a place of domination and war? And so that is the essence of what this is about. And without a doubt, Jerusalem will eventually be a house of prayer for all nations. That is the unfolding of what's happening in this war.
And so just before we move on, before we move on, I just want to play this last clip because it's a point that needs to be clarified for the redemption to unfold in a way that brings clarity and blessing to the world. So I appreciate Tucker for actually saying this.
And it was in that building that Jesus preached, in what we call the Second Temple that Jesus preached, the very center of Judaism, building without which you can't really have Torah Judaism. The religion just didn't work without it.
He speaks with such rapid succession and throws these things out there. It's like, wait a second, what is that about? He said, without Judaism, without the temple, Torah Judaism just doesn't work without it, right? Undermining the entire basis for Torah Judaism without the temple, as if the temple is destroyed and that's another place that God has betrayed his covenant with his people and cast them about and rejected them right there. But if we actually look in the book of Hosea, and there's so many references to this, chapter 14, return Israel unto Hashem your God, for you have stumbled in your iniquity. Take words with you and return to Hashem. Say to him, may you forgive all iniquity and accept good intentions, and let our lips, the words of our lips, substitute for bulls. Meaning, that when we go to synagogue and we pray and we pour our heart out before God, he's listening to our hearts. He wants a relationship. There's something so legalistic about Tucker here that no, only the temple and the sacrifices. The world needs to understand that the temple never existed in order for us to have sacrifices in it, because sacrifices are needed for the forgiveness of our sins. And there's this desire in the God of Israel for the blood of the. No. Why do we need to have sacrifices in the temple? Because when the temple is built, God's presence infuses the entire world. The windows of the temple shone outward because the light of God's presence brought so much clarity and light and love and peace to all of humanity. Okay, and so that's why it's built. So why do we have sacrifices? Because when the king moves into town, the stakes are raised, right? We have sacrifices there because the godliness is so much closer and tangible and real and felt that we have sacrifices for the relationship. It's not the other way around. The temple doesn't exist for the sacrifices. The sacrifices exist because we have the temple and God is living amongst us and in our own hearts. Meaning it's a service of the heart. That's what the temple is, and not just this. It was destroyed because we related to it as a building where we would oppress the widow and the orphan while offering sacrifices in a hypocritical way. That's what's going to bring the rebuilding, is to rectify that, and he's bringing that consciousness into the world. So I'm sorry if I went on and on. I apologize.
No, I think it's good.
But if there's any one thing, it's like this needs to be.
I think just to wrap this topic up, I think at the end of the day, maybe this should be the title for this video, is that Tucker Carlson is absolutely right, and the world should start paying attention to this. And I think Tucker Carlson and people like him are paying attention that this is all about the Temple Mount and the temple and Jerusalem and Mount Zion and Mount Moriah. And the enemies of Israel have been paying attention for a long time. Like we said, every war always comes back to Al-Aqsa, the Temple Mount, right? But we're also seeing, like we mentioned, the thousands of patches that IDF soldiers are wearing, that the awareness of the Jewish people in Israel is also slowly coming to the central focus in Jerusalem, and non-Jews as well. 10,000 of these patches or more now in the hands of Christian Zionists all over the world are now waking up and paying attention. So everybody's waking up. And I just want to thank Tucker Carlson for clarifying this point so well. And is this the first time we've ever agreed, I think, with Tucker Carlson?
Well, I'm not sure I agree when you say Tucker Carlson is absolutely right. I wouldn't say he's right. I'm saying it's beneficial for us to hear the issues and the contentions that he's raising.
I think he's
and to
right.
clarify the what?
No, this is right.
I'm just saying, I think he's right that it's all about the Temple Mount.
Oh, okay. So on a meta level, he's right. But when you zoom into the many arguments that he's making, they're all wrong and filled with lies and
Can I say
distortions.
something about Jerusalem really quickly? I picked up these yesterday in the Holy City. This is all shrapnel from ballistic missile. Look at all this. I mean, this right here would really hurt you. I mean, actually, specifically, yeah, this one. Boy, can you imagine that flying? I mean, that came all the way from Iran. This hit in the Holy City, Jerusalem. This is what Islam thinks about that city. They're going to launch rockets, ballistic missiles, 5 stories tall, launched at the Holy City. That's maybe headline. That's what the Islamic regime thinks about Jerusalem, the holy city. This is how holy it is to them. They're going to lob a 5-story missile right at it. And guess what? They shot down missiles over the top of the Temple Mount. That would cause some irreparable damage to the.
They were less than a kilometer away
infrastructure of the holy site.
From the Dome of the Rock.
Shrapnel landed in the city of David. We're talking about missile that was shot down, and then large pieces landed there in the city of David. This hit Highway 1, not far at all from the Temple Mount. Highway 1, and I was there on the site and picked this up from the site. And
you just happened to be there, or
no?
you
I went
went
specifically because I wanted to see this thing. Israel's incredibly resilient. I drove past it. Was like, where did it hit? I was supposed to be right here. I couldn't see it. I had to actually turn around and go back, and then whoa, it really did happen there. It's completely you just wouldn't recognize it, except for the fact that the pavement is a little bit darker in that one little section. You see pictures. It's a massive hole in the ground, and no one was killed.
It's a symbol of national defiance. You should know that. Like they bombed the gas station in Somadagos right near our home. By the next day, it was already fixed and we were back there. That's like Israel's way of saying,
right,
we're not even going to lose a business day on this.
No, but here's the miraculous thing. We're going to put a kind of a series out about this or a video about this soon. But incredible resilience to see it back up and running. But at the same time, on either side of that highway, massive city centers. There's just no doubt
It's a
the
miracle,
of
the
God
miracles
that's
are
been
happening in
involved in this war. Especially kind of an update on the war. There's been ridiculous amounts, some 700 ballistic missiles shot out of Iran.
You were telling me yesterday that in global history, the most people that one ballistic missile has taken out or killed, it was like 500 and something.
World War II, yeah.
So there's been 700 and something ballistic missiles shot in the last 5 days. And I think 12 people have been killed in Israel, which is obviously awful. But the fact that hundreds, if not thousands of people haven't been killed by these missiles is a miracle in and of itself.
We also have a lot of swarm drones too. These are very dangerous. This is what it
suicide
hit the UAE.
drones. Yeah,
they've
got the numbers
massive,
here, like 1,000
damage.
drones on top of the ballistic missiles that have come in. I want to kind of dive into some analysis, and I want to hear from you guys. Questions about the war that people all over the world are asking. Probably the biggest question for me right now, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, is this is what I don't think anybody saw coming. We knew that there was going to be strikes by Israel and America on Iran. We knew that Iran was going to retaliate. But what we didn't see coming is that Iran has now attacked at least 12 countries in retaliation. We're talking Turkey, who's part of NATO, Cyprus, Kuwait, Qatar, which I think totally threw Tucker Carlson for a loop, UAE, Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Oman, obviously Israel. So, like, what is the deal with this? And obviously, I know there's like speculate, they were targeting American bases or whatever. But Jeremy, what do you think? Like, why is this turned into like a massive Middle Eastern war all of a sudden?
Tehila told me, if you're in a bar fight and there's two guys that are attacking you, the last thing you want to do is to go around the bar and slap everyone else in the bar. And it's like, what are they doing? Why is that happening? Well, it's really interesting. In Ezekiel chapter 38, it talks about Gog and Magog, the final war. And a part of that war is that the enemies themselves attack each other. And even though Qatar and Turkey, those are enemies of Israel, and now they're attacking each other. So the truth is, no one understands exactly why it's happening. There was a theory that maybe once Ayatollah Khomeini died, that he had put plans in place. If I die, this and this happens. And if he dies, then this and this happens. And now there's no chain of command, and they're just operating based on orders that were given that aren't necessarily rational, just attacking American bases, attacking Britain, which they thought would have attacked. And they're just making irrational choices now. But no one really knows. But what I do know is that as we approach the end of days, it's going to get a lot closer to Ezekiel chapter 38, where the enemies are just going to be warring with each other. And we're going to be on the side kind of wondering, why are more rockets being shot onto Arab countries than they are onto Israel?
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily see it 100% that way. I think, number one, you look back into Genesis 16. It talks about Ishmael. It says, V'yapera Adam yado b'kol v'yad kol bo, that he will be a beast of a man, his hand against everyone and everyone's hand against him. If this is not a great demonstration of that, then I don't know what is. Like, look at just what's happening, amongst them. But also, I think they are trying to spark a global war. They're trying to bring all of the nations into it, and they're going to attack them, and they're going to attack them, and they have to be defensive. And so it's just trying to bring the Armageddon that they're trying to initiate.
So it's in their apocalyptic version of Islam. They're actually trying to bring a world war to create that chaos?
Right. That's I think, definitely an argument could be made for that. I'm not in the mind and heart of Ayatollah Khomeini. May his memory be cursed and wiped out.
We're on like the third Ayatollah since him.
Right.
No, I heard around the 88th because they wiped out the entire.
Well, they wiped out all
list.
of these potential successors and the guys that got to vote in new Ayatollah.
I love the way Trump said that. He's like, and the other guy, he's dead. They're all dead. Even people that we were considering, they're dead.
Nobody left to talk to.
There's
They're all
nobody
dead.
The only thing I would say about this is that that there is more, maybe a more just simple ideas, is that they're trying to put pressure on these countries, saying it was a bad idea to work with the U.S. We're stronger. They're trying to give this like strength, because that's very Arab. Like, hey, we're strong, and we're striking you
So far, it's
because
not
you
working
sided with
very
the
well
wrong
for them.
people. Well, yeah, but they're still
Because
shooting rockets.
Qatar
and
is
they're
literally now having to side with Israel and America, even though they won't publicly admit it. They're saying, we're not entering the war. We just have the right to defend ourselves. And they strike Iran,
I mean, the fact, though, is this is very Middle Eastern minded. Like, we can't think Western mindsets here. You got to think these guys, they don't just back down very easily. They're trying to say, hey, you made a bad decision. Now we're the leaders in this region, and you made a bad decision to go with the Westerns. We're going to be here, and you're going to regret the day, and we're going to show you that even now. I mean, that to me, that's a Middle Eastern mindset that they're trying. It doesn't make a lot of practical sense when you see it. Their entire navy is now sunk to the bottom of the sea, and
It's not going very well.
But here's the thing: this is one thought, and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. What if this is just a massive what if? Maybe are they being so cocky in their just utter destruction for another reason? Do they have something we don't know about?
Iran?
What do you mean by that?
No, I mean, the whole world was saying they were going to have
Nuclear weapons?
nuclear weapon within days, and they've said it for 5 years straight. What if they have something we don't know about? What if they're being cocky and it doesn't look? I'm saying all signs are saying they're
The good news is the U.S. just started using B-52 bombers yesterday.
Yeah,
the B-52 bomber, I believe, has the ability to fire nuclear weapons from outside Iranian airspace.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense why they would still be like acting like they're somebody when they doesn't seem they have anything left. What do they have left? Well, it does seem like they have still thousands of ballistic missiles. They still seem to have that. They have
the numbers are going down by the day. Like day 1, 350 missiles fired. Day 2, 175.
That's
3,
right.
120. Day 4, 50. Day 5, 40.
But
we'll see how many today.
This is
been
what
a few
we know.
already.
There's facts on the ground is that they've been preparing. This is the way I think about it, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Israel's still fighting in Gaza. That's basically fighting a city. It's tiny.
Where?
Gaza. Yeah, where?
We forgot about that.
But we've been fighting it for over 2 years, and they're still, up until like 6 months ago, we're still getting a rocket out every now and then. What in the world? A city. Think about 90 million people in a massive country of Iran going on the guerrilla terror. And that's what they do. And they have tunnels inside of Iran as well. They have systems that they've built that connect their massive complexes together. They are the inventors of the Hamas ideology that's going on in Gaza. What makes us think that didn't do the same thing there? That's my.
I think you are right, and I think it brings up another question that I have for you guys. And a lot of people are asking that question. 90 million people. If you look at the map, Iran has massive land mass. So, like, how can the U.S. or Israel actually win a war? So that brings up everyone's question, which is, what is the actual goal of the war for America, for Israel, and maybe for you guys too? Like, if maybe what should the goal be?
So I'll answer it from my perspective, because there could be the very limited perspective of the government of the state of Israel, and by extension, less so, but also of the nation of Israel itself. And then there's what is God's goal here? Because on some level, I think some people thought, this point already where we've obliterated Iran, the story's over. The chapter is ending. But I think we all know in our hearts that the final show, that the big gala event is still yet to come. This chapter is still being written out, and this could be what it really comes to. So what is it? Why are we still fighting in Gaza? What is it about Iran? People always said, well, Iran, they're the head of the snake or the head of the octopus, and then the Houthis and the Hezbollah, and they're all just different tentacles. But maybe they're not. Maybe they're the physiological head of the snake, but really this is a war against an idea. That idea is the jihad. And what is the only way to uproot that idea? Is that the God's light that is entering the world does not go through the Dome of the Rock, not through the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but actually the temple itself. That is the only thing that is going to really be able to neutralize the idea of the jihad to the degree where the very jihadists are going to be coming to Jerusalem to offer sacrifices of being apology to the God of Israel and his people, that will seek brotherhood and peace for all of humanity. The only thing that will bring that about is the temple being built. And that's what this really needs to come to. And we need to get our heads out of the sand, see the truth for what it is, listen to what our enemies are saying, from Tucker Carlson to Iran to Hamas, and just say it's time to build the temple. Let's start building it. Let's just start to build it.
I would say one of the actual.
Did I just get you guys demonetized on YouTube?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think one of the practical that you went final. You were talking about final solution. That's the actual, and it's so awful to use that terminology, but the whole world's looking their talk like that, and it's so awful. But the actual solutions where Jews are not the evil approach, these Hitlers and these Khomeinis and all these people. the actual, on the ground, I see an earlier solution is regime change. I think that's what America wants. That's what Israel wants. They want a regime change in Iran that could then be a blessing to the people of Israel. There's what seems like there's a lot of amazing people. Persian people seem to be great people, and I think that's what the Kurds are sitting there on the sidelines as well. Seems to be historically good people.
There's a case to be made that Iran, Iran or ancient Persia, right? King Cyrus was responsible for rebuilding the temple before, and now, and I think even Bibi might have said it, that like maybe Israel could be the one to help bring, modern redemption for the people of Persia again. And like you're saying, one day they could actually come up to the temple.
Can I tell you, my daughter woke up this morning and she asked me a question because we showed her last night that the Iranian exiles in Cyprus were swarming the Israel embassy in Cyprus and singing about Bibi Netanyahu, singing about Israel, Am Yisrael Chai, putting flowers down for the state of Israel. Thank you for doing this. This is Iranian exiles in Cyprus, and I'm sure all around the world, or everybody but Tucker Carlson is thanking Israel for this unbelievable liberation. And my daughter woke up and she said, "When are we going to get a flower as a family, or is it each one of us are going to get flowers?" Because in her head, she actually is seeing that the whole world is coming and expressing gratitude for what Israel led. And for those who say this is Israel's war, America's fighting Israel's war 9 times. Bibi's been in Washington and he's coercing and forcing Trump to fight this war. And then Trump says, "Actually, if anything, I forced Israel's hand into this war against these lunatics, quote unquote. I forced their hand. They didn't force mine." And if you ask me, I think he's telling the truth. There's no question about it. Nobody has the courage to actually say to him, "Oh, you're a weak, spineless coward that's giving in to the Israelis." But that's what they're accusing him of, and we see that that's the reverse is actually true.
Jeremy, what do you think? What's your take on the prophetic or biblical significance of the war?
Well, that's a good question. I think that there's a process that's happening that when I heard the Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth, and what he said about Israel and how he spoke about Israel, I feel like you really saw a process unfolding. Can we watch that clip?
Yeah, let's do it.
To our steadfast partner, Israel, your mission is being executed with unmatched skill and iron determination. Fighting shoulder to shoulder with such a capable ally is a true force multiplier and a breath of fresh air. We salute your courage and your contribution. 4 days in, we have only just begun to fight. America fights to win, and in Operation Epic Fury, we are. May God's providence cover and protect our troops always.
First of all, I love the fact that he said, "May God's providence cover our soldiers." I wish that our Israeli leaders spoke like that. But what's really interesting is the first war that I really remember in my consciousness was the Gulf War in 1991. And America had to form a coalition, and the coalition was based on the fact that Israel was going to just sit out. And we were barraged with Scud missiles. Close to 100 missiles were shot onto Israel. That was before Iron Dome, so every single one of them hit. And I think no one was killed from a direct hit from a missile. That was just a blatant miracle that was there. But what was interesting is that Israel had to sit out and just be on the sidelines and allow rockets to be shot at us in order that America would be able to work with the other Arab countries, because if Israel got involved, the Arab countries would have moved. And now Israel is shoulder-to-shoulder partners leading the war. They were the first 200 jets to actually take Khamenei out. It's like a process is happening that Israel is becoming slowly but surely a superpower. And if I go back to Ezekiel chapter 38, the war of Gog and Magog, the ultimate purpose of that war, according to Ezekiel, is that when Israel wins, the world will recognize the power of God. God is with Israel, and when Israel wins, God wins. And slowly but surely, Israel is becoming stronger and stronger. And I think that as we become the nation we were destined to be, it's just a matter of time until Jerusalem becomes a house of prayer for all nations, that we shine the light that is meant to be shined in the world.
That's right. Before I get to one last question here, and this is coming your way, Ari. But there's something really interesting going on in the war, and there's like a series of firsts. And I think there's going to be even more as days go on, or at least firsts in decades, like in a long time. First time the United States has sunk an enemy warship with a torpedo since World War II. I think 1945 was the last time this happened. A U.S. submarine torpedoed
That's a fantastic video, by the way.
and sank the Iranian frigate Iris Dina in the Indian Ocean. First time since World War II. Like this is not any war like we've seen. And I don't know how much, I mean, we could say what, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years plus. Also, an Israeli F-35 shot down an Iranian fighter jet, a Yak-130 over Tehran. This is the first time in world history, the first time ever that an F-35 has taken down a fighter jet in a dogfight. So, like, we're seeing crazy, wild things, like just, things that we never imagined we would see. I think when we were all waiting for America to strike Iran or Israel to strike Iran, we were thinking 12-day war from June last year. We were thinking some jets, some B-2 bombers, maybe some, long distance strikes. I don't think anybody imagined there would be dogfights going on over the skies of Tehran, that the entire Iranian Navy would be at the bottom of the ocean right now, that there would be submarines torpedoing, Iranian ships.
I just thought of a first time, allegedly, a woman killed
allegedly
a woman killed since biblical times. I mean, you talk about Yael in the Bible, right? Since biblical times, a woman kills the perpetrator of attack against Israel. It's allegedly that a woman dropped the bomb on Khomeini.
Is that
about
true?
that?
Is that
true?
An Israeli.
I also saw a post.
I never heard that. I'm really
I think it's
interested to
fantastic.
know.
I think even if it's not true, we should keep promoting it because it's fantastic. I heard it.
I also
actually
saw
is true.
another post giving a different pilot credit for it. It said his name was Halach Boom. Which, you got to explain, and in Hebrew, that's it went boom. So I thought that was pretty good.
Anyway, that's
But
if that is true.
If you haven't seen the video
amazing.
of the fighter pilots that were shot down in Kuwait, one of them, a U.S. Fighter pilot that was a woman, she's just like, she ejected out of her F-15, lands in the desert, and Kuwaitis are like running up to her, like, "Are you okay?" And she's just standing there, like smiling, like, "Yeah, I'm good." And if you ever seen videos of that happen, like, that's not a small thing. And a lot of people get seriously injured, pilots, from being rocketed out of their plane. That's if they survive at all. And so you had 6 pilots, I think, that were their planes were blown up, and they
From friendly fire, supposedly.
ejected into the Kuwaiti desert and landed, and were totally fine, and were taken in by the local.
If there was ever a
Kuwaitis.
moment when I thought an Israeli woman should be running a fighter jet, I'm typically not going to be like the one that's shouting that that's a great idea, especially in enemy territory. I just don't feel like that's a great idea. But this time, I feel like that was the best move. If it is real, that is the best move that ever happened, to have a woman drop that bomb.
Because for them, that would be just the greatest sign of humiliation.
Yeah, because that's speaking Arab, that they just can't.
Yeah.
They just can't stand
Well,
that.
I think about that American fighter jet that was shot down, because that's just kind of the natural way of the world, that sometimes there's malfunction, sometimes there's friendly fire. And I think it's really important to note, I grew up on the legendary stories of David's men. And David went out to battle, and legend has it that all of his men always came back scot-free. No one was ever killed. And I find it remarkable that Israel is flying over 1,000 kilometers to Iran. There hasn't been one plane shot down, not one soldier killed. It is quite literally a miraculous war, that we're taking it for granted now, that we just dominate their skies, that we dominate all of Iran now. But not one soldier has been killed in action, in fighting from Israel. To me, that is divine providence of the highest order. And that needs to be noted, that we're living through a little miracle right now as we're watching David's men rise up again against an evil regime that wants to wipe us out. And we're coming back without any aircrafts even damaged.
Maybe more than just a little miracle. Maybe
David has some women on the team.
A lot
this
of
time, too, it sounds
big
like.
miracles.
But could we play one last video here? It's just a few seconds, but it's so powerful. It's a video of Israeli soldiers in Lebanon under fire, that they're sort of in a tunnel here, and they're let's just show the video.
מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמעי בן קיש איש ימיני אשר גם ירושלים האם הגול אשר בלתיים יחונה מלך יהודה אשר הגענו אחד מצר מלך בית אלוהים יאמן קדשי יסתבך דודו כי
Explain to everybody what's going on here.
They're reading Megillat Esther, the scroll of the story of Esther that according to Jewish law, we read on Purim both at night and during the day. And we need to hear it and we need to listen to it. And according to Jewish law, it can't be out of order. You can't listen to the second half first and the first half second. Out of order. Why? Because the idea is that in our minds and in our hearts, we have to know that it's not a story that we're reading from a scroll that happened thousands of years ago. It's happening right now and it's happening through us. And for the Tucker Carlson to say, oh, they're a secular nation, a secular people, there they are in Lebanon, in the midst of the war that's playing out, that is a manifestation and reflection of the original war that they're reading about at that time. It just connects the dots before our eyes to show that we are this nation that have been praying for thousands of years, that are willing to sacrifice our lives 1,000 times to bring God's presence into the world and bring light and peace and love to all of humanity. That's what this is about. And just to see that, it just touched my heart deeply.
Okay, Ari, finish us out. What's your prediction? How long is the war going to drag on? What's going to happen next? By the time next week we record this podcast, what will we be talking about?
The truth is, I don't have a prediction anymore. I don't know.
All of your predictions came true already?
I know that what's going to happen is that we are going to be building the temple in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah.
Whether by next week or
the week
after that.
or later. I believe in my heart from all that I've read and studied that something is going to happen where the nations of the world come against Israel, united, and it feels like, although we feel right now that we're in a position of strength and control and everything's good, that we're going to be, yet there's still in store for us to have this feeling like, what is going on? The whole world is against us. What's going to happen? Do we have a chance? God, please help us. And we have to turn our hearts to God in a very real, visceral way because there's no rational, normative reason we'd be able to survive. And then there's going to be a great revelation of God's love for his people and his children. He says, the time for your redemption has arrived. And that's what I believe is coming soon. How or what this is going to play out, I don't know.
I did just wanted to bring up the fact that we do know that Israel, if struck, rebuilds very quickly. If a rocket that if they missed it, couldn't shoot it down, and it did hit the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, I think Israel they proved that they could rebuild that road within just like that. I'm thinking you could have a temple by next week if they were to hit it, because Israel has some great teams.
I think there should definitely be a directive. There should be a directive, like if it's headed and that's the trajectory, hands off.
Hey, last little note here. It was noted in Israel that the Iranians have a particular gift at hitting empty parking lots across Tel Aviv.
It's true. Yeah.
Is there something going on where maybe Israel could direct these things in certain directions? I don't want to start a whole nother,
Now you're getting yourself demonetized.
No, it just is absolutely miraculous because there's no way possible to redirect a ballistic missile. It's 5 stories tall. It's flying. It's just not that. It's just impossible. Even though people are probably going to say that, but it is miraculous. That's what. How did the cars not end up in that spot? Like it's literally being noted in Tel Aviv. How come there was no cars there? I mean, what happened? How did it hit that spot? How did it go there? So if a rocket hits the Temple Mount, we'll know that was in God's hands, and Israel's going to be rebuilding very quickly.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Yeah, they do rebuild quickly. So
be ready.
All it takes is one miss. You guys can let us know what you think. Give us some prediction down in the comments section. Ari needs some new predictions. So all of his predictions up to this point have come true. Sounds like so. Put some more in the comment section, guys. Make sure you subscribed. Make sure you're paying attention to what's happening in Israel, but paying attention to the right news. Ari had his
Luke, let me interrupt you really quick.
Today.
I really wanted to get this in here, and you said pay attention to the right news. Just one more jab at Tucker Carlson before we leave. There's these guys called the Islam guys. Actually, they're not called that at all. I put it in the notes. Actually, Glenn Beck put this out. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And
I called them the Islam guys because I said this is the bizarro version of us.
They're like four guys with robes and beards.
It's hilarious. We don't have to play this whole video.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that they're talking. Just get this visual
here.
The Islam guys.
Play the video.
Just look. Yeah, you guys can throw it in if you want to, but this is absolutely hysterical. And it's them talking about how much they really think Tucker Carlson is the guy. I just think it's phenomenal.
We've spoken about Tucker Carlson a lot in previous episodes, and
it's making some noise.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's an important person. We've got to follow him. Umar ibn Khattab. Now today, we know media is a powerful place, man. Right? If you win the media war, media.
Yeah.
Right? As in, if we took a victory from this, if there's anything for us to say we did this time with Allah's permission, tawfiq, it's media.
Yeah.
I'm saying this guy is, in my opinion, the strongest guy in the media right now.
You guys get the idea.
Wait. But we have to transition right to this, okay? From that, look at these guys singing the praise of Tucker Carlson in their hijabs, and not their hijabs, but look.
Last question. I've been personally, not to make it about me, but I have been criticized as being a tool of Qatar. And I just want to say what you already know, which is I've never taken anything from your country and don't plan to.
What's like the actual?
And, I'm happy to say that one of the first investments our new fund made was putting Tucker Carlson in this new network.
He actually said that?
All right, guys, if you're still here for the after show, just make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're paying attention.
Right.
Make sure you're reading your Bibles to know what God's plan is for this war and what's happening globally in the Middle East. And follow along. We're going to be here for the ride, putting out as much as we possibly can. So follow all of our channels and platforms here at the Israel Guys. And as always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what's happening in Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel Guys.